pray with me this morning? God, here I stand, your servant, not worthy to be here. God, place me behind your cross, that Christ might be seen. Calm these stumbling, stammering lips, that your word might be proclaimed. For I pray it in Christ's name. Amen. Wikipedia. How many of you have ever gone to Wikipedia on the internet? Anyone? A few of you have. I went there the first of this week to get a definition for administrative leave. And they define it as a temporary leave from a job assignment with pay and benefits intact. And often, police officers accused of misconduct are placed on paid administrative leave, and teachers and administrators at colleges and universities, supervisors and managers, and indeed ordinary federal, state, and municipal employees may be put on administrative leave as well. Some of you may remember just a few months ago, Urban Myers, the head football coach at Ohio State, was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation as to what he knew, didn't know, and did and didn't do regarding a spousal abuse claim involving one of his coaches. But this morning, let's talk a little bit about someone else. He's someone who did not get paid administrative leave, nor did he seek leave. His job was tiring and dangerous, and as for benefits, virtually non-existent. Although the person in question did confess that he had a great job, that he enjoyed what he was doing, and that he had a sense of that he had done well. Fought a good fight, kept the faith, and all of that goes with it. He's a guy who came across with false modesty when he describes himself as the least of all of the apostles and unfit. He says that he's not much of a preacher, no special oratorical skills. He admits to violence. He persecuted the Church of God. Some might say he was a chronic complainer. He complains about his physical issues. Hear his own words here. He says, I'm talking like a madman. I am a better one with far greater labors, far more imprisonments, and countless floggings, and often near death. 5 times I have received from the Jews 40 lashes minus 1. There were times I've been beaten with rods. Once I received a stoning. 3 times I was shipwrecked for a night and a day. I was adrift at sea, on frequent journeys, in danger from rivers, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, danger at sea, danger from false brothers and sisters, in toil and hardship, through many a sleepless night, hungry and thirsty, often without food, cold and naked. Frankly, it sounds like this guy might need to be put on administrative leave. But the Apostle Paul, the greatest missionary and apologist that the church has ever known, scoffs at this idea. He writes, by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace toward me has not been in vain. On the contrary, he says, I worked harder than any of them, though it was not I, but the grace of God that was within me. When you're working for the Lord, you don't get time off. Now I'll clarify that statement here in a minute. No paid administrative leave things get sorted out. Instead, you get to keep working. And you don't get vacations in increasing increments for time served. You can't retire either. You don't sign up for a 20-year hitch, and then when you get out at 42, you can go. You can get out. You can get out of your service for the Lord. You don't sign up for a 20-year hitch, and then get out, and then you're out of service for the Lord. You don't sign up for 30 years and get out at 65. Expecting a well done, thou good and faithful servant plaque that you can put on the wall in the living room. No, you will definitely get the reward, but not in this way. No siree. It's not going to happen. When you enter the Lord's service, whether you're lay or clergy, it's for life. And you don't get time off. And this is why in the same chapter, Paul writes encouragingly, therefore, my beloved, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the work of the Lord, because you know that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. But the focus of this passage, the one I want to focus on, and I think Paul did too, is verse 10. And the theme of which is God's grace. Paul begins by saying, now I remind you, brothers and sisters, of the good news I proclaim to you. And then he goes on to describe again. Christ had made numerous appearances, he said, first to Cephas, then to the 12. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers and sisters at one time. Most of them are still alive, he says, though some have died. Then he appeared to James and to all the apostles. And it is with self-assessment that Paul addresses the importance of grace. God, and he knows it because it's grace that saves us. Here's someone that doesn't feel qualified for the job. Paul sees himself as unfit and undeserving. Last of all, as someone untimely born, he appeared to me. For I am the least of the apostles, he said, unfit to be called an apostle. You see, Paul feels that his former opposition to the church, remember he persecuted the church as Saul. He feels that his former opposition to the church counts against him. He recognizes that in spite of what he was then, God reached out to him, making him the new creation that he is now. God's loving grace saved Paul, lifted him up, and set him on a new course, giving a new and quite different meaning to his life. But look at verse 10, where he says, but for the grace of God, I am what I am. But for the grace of God, I am what I am. And we say this. And we say that. You know, the problem is that many of us, for many of us, is that we just don't have Paul's resume. We don't. We didn't hunt down Christians and persecute them. We were never enemies of the church of God. We didn't have a Damascus Road experience. We were never bad boys and bad girls. On the contrary, a large percentage of us, you and I, of us, have been good boys and girls. We went to school. We got jobs. We're raising children. We're supporting families. We're paying a mortgage on a house. We work extra hours if we need to. And when we can afford a family vacation, we go camping or to the beach or Disney World. We're doing what we need to do. And we kind of think that, by golly, we did this on our own. Oh yes, we got help along the way. Mom and Dad may have helped us from time to time, like with the down payment on our house. And perhaps a friend got us our first job. But really, we got where we are by our hard work, initiative, and careful planning. We cannot say and don't feel like saying, as the Apostle Paul did, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. We are where we are and where we are by God's grace. And it's cool how the Bible has a way of straightening out crooked thinking. We think it's all us. But God reminds us that it's all God. I got reminded of that the other day, Trudy, when I went over to see Joe's dad, Bill, over at the hospital. And we sat and had a long conversation. And Bill told me 2 or 3 times, it's all God. It's not about us, it's about God. And we are where we are and who we are by God's grace. Do we realize how a few things here and there would have unraveled everything? Ever think about that? But for the grace of God, our lives could easily be a pile of thread on the floor. And for some, life was a tangled mess. No meaning, no nothing. Until the grace of God lifted us up and set our feet on a different path. So what more does God expect of us? God expects us to reframe this description so that you and I recognize that this is our life's work. By God's grace, we are who we are. Parent, spouse, doctor, a lawyer, a school teacher, or a plumber. God's grace is not in vain. You see, folks, we live in the light of God. We are conscious that in our various roles, we are recipients of God's grace. And all the glory and all the praise goes to God. It's because of God that we are who we are and what we are. God's grace saves us, and God's grace nurtures us. It is truly, folks, amazing grace. Pray with me. God, we who are so unworthy of it, come together today to thank you for that amazing grace, God, that you bestowed on us. Grace, your grace, oh God. Thank you for loving us, watching over us, and keeping